Hi everyone, it's Karen here from Karen's Creations Scrapbooking in Wyerton. I just wanted to show you how I did the background on this really cool Halloween card. Okay, so on this background part I used oxide inks, and I'm just going to set it aside, and this mask, Stampers Anonymous mask for the moon. And this is a stamp set I used. The Scarecrow, it's called. Okay, from Tim Holtz. So what I'm going to start off with is some Post-it tape to hold down my mask. Okay, and this won't leave any residue on your card. So I'm going to put this in the center near the top. Okay, so I'm going to use a mustard seed color. So what I'm going to do with this is just put a little bit of yellow ink on the mask. Okay, this is a sticky mat that I have, so I don't have to hold the ink, okay, because it sticks to it. So now what I'm going to use is speckled egg. I remember this what it looks like. Okay, so I'm going to take the speckled egg color, and I'm going to take a little bit of the yellow, and I'm going to go around the edge. This just gives it some yellow, but a little bit of blue as well, so we don't have to blend them twice. Okay. So that's the speckled egg. Now the color I'm going to use is the cracked pistachio. Okay, and I'm using my blending brushes. I really like to use the blending brushes. It just gives it a really softer look. So you can see I'm really pushing on my ink pad to get that color on there. Okay, so now I'm going to do is I'm going to go down the side of the moon, maybe around a little bit, but down towards where the scarecrow is going to be. So probably about to there. So I'm going to give a little bit of green ink around, and then down to the center of the card. Okay, just so we can blend it. Okay, now I'm going to use my Uncharted Mariner. And I'm going to go along the side. And just to blend in towards the green, what is it called? Cracked pistachio. And I'm going to go along the edges, cover up those corners. Okay, so if I didn't like the way it blended, with the blue, I can always go back in with the cracked pistachio and go over top. Okay. So now I want a little bit of my Villainous Potion. And I'm going to put it in a V down here. So you can see I'm doing small circles. I'm pushing kind of pretty hard on the brush so that it lets out all the ink. And then I'm going to go back with the navy there, the Uncharted Mariner. Okay. And then our last, well, it's not the last, but the last little bit here that I'm going to do is go around the whole edge with the black. My table is kind of wonky here. There. So I'm just going to go around the edge, put a little bit of black. I might not have needed that much, but so you can see I started on the glass part of it and then over the edge of the cardstock. You don't want to start here, you're going to get a blob. Okay. And you can see the brush is picking it up. You can pick up your color along the side. Sometimes I'll tap it on a piece of paper towel just to get that initial darkness off. This makes it spooky-like looking. Okay. So this one's a little bit more green than my other one, but once it dries, it kind of changes color also, okay? It takes a bit for it to dry overnight, for the color to settle. Okay, so we still have this moon to deal with, right? So the masks has it's a two-part mask. So I'm going to take this one off. So our moon is white. And I'm going to put this guy, I'm going to put him like this. And I'm going to take the speckled egg that I had before, and I don't need a whole lot of ink on it. Okay, because it's just going to be, I don't know, like looks like the moon, okay? Little shadows on the moon. Okay, so just not very dark, just a light little touch there. And you could put a piece of tape under it. Sometimes I just like to hold it. So I'm not going to dip this on the ink pad. I'm just going to use what's on the brush, and I'm going to color in the moon and go around the edge. Okay, so I'm just going to color in the moon because I don't want it too bright. I did another one here and it's a little too bright for my liking. I'll show you. So I used the one that the mask that was a little bit bigger, but the moon is very bright. Okay, so you can see the difference. So I'm going to color in the moon, and then I think I'm going to put this mask back on. I just don't want it to grab. Okay. And I'm gonna dip my brush in the yellow ink, and I'm gonna go around the edge again. And that will give it a halo. See that? Gives it a little halo. Okay. So that's a little trick you can use when you're making scary backgrounds or night scenes. Okay, so that's the background. So I have to let this dry a little bit before I can stamp the and emboss the bats and the corn stalks, because if I don't do that, the black embossing powder it'll stick to everything. So I'm just gonna let this dry for a minute while I color in the scarecrow. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this off my table. It's just a really sticky thing. So what I did is I just used some regular Distress inks. Crackling Campfire. Wilted Violet. Brown Espresso. Chip Sapphire. Some mustard seed for the face. And just dilution is the best thing to remember, okay? So I have a little my table is really wonky. Let me try to fix it here. Okay, that's better. So remember, you have to dilute it with water. So I have a little brush and some water. And you know, just I stamped it with VersaFine and on 110-pound Neenah paper. So I'm just going to color it in. And you don't have to be too precise. You can see that my brush is wet, but not like dripping. And you want to be fairly quick because you don't want the paper to prill or get too wet, okay? So that's my first coat of orange. So I'm gonna go and color in the shirt now because I want it to dry a little bit before I go over top of it again. So I'm gonna give him a denim shirt. Okay, and what else? His face is like a pale yellow. So I'm just gonna give that yellow a lot of water. And the more water you put on, the more diluted it's gonna be, or the color is gonna be faded, right? So just put a little bit on there. And you see how light that color went. Okay. I'm gonna give his hat stripe a little bit of purple. And I want that to be bright. I'm gonna make his pants brown. And that stick, brown. Okay. Okay, so now I want his hat to be black, but I don't want it to be too dark. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to the black to make it gray. Okay, so I did cut this out beforehand, just so that you didn't have to watch me cut it out. My first card I didn't leave the scarecrow on because you would have had to cut. Wow, this part would have been white between the hat and the scarecrow. But I just colored it in and it looks fine. Okay, so now I'm going to go over that orange again. And it'll be a little bit brighter this time. Okay. So I don't have very much water on my brush at all. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of brown, and you see where these shadow lines are? I'm going to put the brown there, and that just gives a little bit of depth. I'll put a little bit of brown on the shirt. Give it a shadow. Okay. So that's your scarecrow. Look how quickly you can color him in. I'm just going to dry it for a second because it is a little wet. I'm gonna just wipe up your inks with your paper towel, and you have a clean mat again. Okay, so now what I have to do is grab my embossing powder. I forgot it. So I have my stamping platform and my stamps where I want them on the card, already on the platform. I'm just gonna rub my image with this, I forget what this is called, tack cloth. It's just so it gives the Versamark, it won't stick to everything, or the embossing powder won't stick to everything, it'll just stick to the Versamark that you're gonna put down. So this is Versamark. It's the sticky goo that you want to put down before you put your embossing powder on. Okay, so I'm just going to do it one more time. And I have my handy tray here. So I just put it in a big margarine container with a little tray in there so it doesn't go all over your table. Because you know it does. Usually when I'm done with it, it's everywhere. So I'm just tapping it off like this. Okay, and if you see, oh, that's my wet brush. If you see something there, you just rub it with your dry brush. Okay. And then you just heat it with your heat gun, and you can heat on this glass mat. It doesn't affect it at all. Sorry, it's a little loud. And your embossing powder melts and becomes shiny and stuck to the paper. Okay, so there you have it. It's all hot. Nice and shiny, and the bats are along the side of the moon. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is put a little bit of yellow where the corn stalks are, and it shows through the sky. You don't have to do this, but I just didn't want the purple to show in the corn stalk. Just be careful that it doesn't drip. Just a little added touch. Okay. And once it dries, it'll dry whatever color it mixes with around the back. Okay, so now all we have left to do is glue it to the back side, or card base, and pop dot our bats. Of course, this is not going to work. There it is. So I just eyeball it. Hold it down for a minute because it's a little warped, still a little warm. And I have my scarecrow. I'm just going to put a few foam squares on him. And I can pop dot him off the card right in the center. And my title says something wicked comes your way, comes this way. And I can pop dot that as well. Okay, and I have a few bats here. Maybe one there. Maybe a big one there to hide my blob that I did. And I think that's all I need, actually. Now you could use black foam squares so you don't see the white. But I don't have any black right here, so we're using white. And I'm just gonna kind of make it go over top of that edge of the sentiment. Okay. And yeah, I think that's enough bats. 2 bats, one right in the middle of the moon. I mean, you don't have to put it there, whatever. I just was hiding my boo-boo. Okay. I hope you had fun watching me make this cool Halloween card. Alrighty. Have a great day.